right? And it doesn't see, it's almost like an impossible thing. How can this, if you see two good players on the range hitting balls, which one's better? You're like, you wouldn't know, right? Or
Yeah,
you
of course.
watch two guys play 9 holes. Who's the better player? Well, this guy beat this guy by, a shot. He must be better. Well, then how do you quantify that? But if you think about it, let's say for every 10 events, you're talking 40 rounds, right? So one shot a round. Well, this guy, instead of beating me by one shot, he's beat me by 40 shots.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
40 shots.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is something there, but that something there is these little things. It's just this little thing, like what I'm talking about, like a ball disbursement pattern. That's just one guy's like this and the other guy's like this. It's nothing you could see,
Right.
but it's really there. It's a real thing, but you have to really be in tune with that to really understand. The same with putting, and it's just a guy who just just gets that ball rolling really beautifully off the face. Like, I couldn't do that on tour until I didn't really learn how to putt until a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started, like, okay, if I'm going to teach advanced ball striking, a lot of students are like, what about putting? It's like, well, I don't, really teach putting.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I have to, right?
Yeah.
Then I really took the deep dive, I started to really look at it. And then when I did, I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's the same stuff. It's holding shaft flex. It's all the same. It's all the same stuff. And once I realized that my so-called good putting stroke, where I was, trying to go square to square and keep the face, and do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I realized that was incredibly flawed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That what I needed to do is do everything wrong, the opposite of what I'd been taught my entire life, and really say, what, the putting stroke needs to just be a little golf swing.
Yeah.
And that's when I took the deep dive and figured the putting stuff out. And what's really great now is I have just fantastic, beautiful technique now, and I can just roll it so beautifully. And when I go out and play, I know that I'm going to make some putts, even if I don't practice. I don't practice at all.
Yeah.
I don't even play that much. But if I do go out and play, I'm actually confident that I'm going to make a few putts. I might not make them all. I'm not going to run the table because I don't practice enough.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm going to make some putts. You're going to see me make
a few fun.
Putts, and that's fun. And that's a big game changer. And I'll tell you what, if I had the putting stroke that I have now, if I had that back on tour, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now. So,
yeah. I hear you.
I'd be like, oh yeah, Johnny's up in the castle out there, and where do they all live, down in Phoenix or whatever?
Yeah, you'd be in Scottsdale or Jupiter, Florida.
No, he doesn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, you'd be probably retired or occasionally playing Champions Tour events.
Yeah, right.
One of those intangibles that you were talking about, John, is going to lead me to my next point, and I think that it really ties in with everything that you're teaching, everything that advanced ball striking is about, and I first learned it from Bradley, and obviously you two are very close, and that really is about equipment and why your gear matters so much. And I'm not going to, publicly put down any instructor, because, maybe a lot of the guys and the gals out there that are teaching don't know this, that your actual golf swing is going to go where your equipment is set. And I've had George Willett on, TaylorMade Extraordinary. You've talked to him for many years about the importance of knowing what your equipment is and what your intentions are with your equipment and how they intimately affect your swing motion, and why that's a big part of advanced ball striking. Let's talk about it.
Well, yeah, equipment. The first thing is, the club that you practice with. I mean, if somebody didn't play golf at all, they never played golf, and you handed them, a 15-ounce persimmon driver, and just said,
Yeah.
okay, well, just go take like 300 swings a day with this thing, and then just come see me 6 months from now. I mean, if the thing was, had a 48-degree lie angle and a super stiff shaft, or I mean, and then you took the same, let's say they were twins, identical twins or whatever, right? And you gave somebody, a lightweight, long, upright, driver, whatever, and hey, take 200 or 300 swings a day and come back. You're going to see two totally different golf swings.
Right.
Okay? Because the club is going to start directing your body, right? It's just
Yeah.
if I put a small regular like a hammer, and then I put a sledgehammer, and I say, pick one up. First one, you can hammer, you just pick it up with your arm. The sledgehammer, all of a sudden, you got to use your shoulder, right? All of a sudden, you have big, you pick. Oh, I might even need two hands to pick this thing up, right? But
Right.
that little hammer, you just go like this, and the real heavy one, you're going like this.
Yeah.
So that's really really important. The holding shaft flex is really my mantra, really, of what I teach at the core of it. And the beauty of that is that if you're holding shaft flex, okay, through the strike, then the kinetic energy that you're creating that's stored in that shaft, okay, is going to be essentially the same whether the shaft is really stiff or it's really loose. So the stiff shaft, you're not really going to see much of it, just a slight bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's loose, you might see more. But the reason that most people use loose shafts is because they don't hold shaft flex.
Right.
Okay. So you take it back and you have this loose shaft, and then you come down and it's really lagging, but now you start decelerating, but there's so much lagging in the shaft that the shaft then starts to unwind, right? And it's losing shaft flex, so it's straightening out as it's coming into the ball. And then you're having to time that. And that's the essence really of a swinger's release. Okay. In the hitter's release, you can then use the stiff shaft, and you're not really losing power. If you're holding shaft flex, it doesn't matter whether you're swinging a stiff shaft or a loose shaft, as far as the kinetic energy that's stored in there. So it's kind of an advantage to learn how to do that. And if you have stiffer shafts, you're going to hit the ball straighter, okay, with a stiffer shaft, because you're going to have less torquing, twisting of the shaft. So for offset hits, right?
Yeah.
Looser shaft's going to do this more. Or, the face is going to, ball hits out here, it's going to tend to move a little bit more. These are all really critical things. So I'm a big proponent of stiffer shafts, and also I know that most people would not like to hear this, but a little heavier shafts, and a thicker walled shaft, because golf is a game of feel. Okay, it's all about ultimately feel in your hands as you're going through the strike, and the feedback that you get from when you hit the ball, and from the impact, whether it's off center where you're hitting it good or not or whatever, fat, thin, toe, heel, that feedback that comes up through your hands is telling you what just happened. And then on your next shot, you can say, okay, I got to, my brain's got to recalibrate here. I want to find that sweet spot. And then, oh, there it is. Yeah, it feels good. Okay, that again, boom. So perimeter weighted clubs and things like that, game improvement. I did kind of disagree with that. I don't think it's game improvement. I think it's more like a Band-Aid. It kind of traps people into not getting better. If you don't, you need the feedback. You have to have feedback coming to improve. It's very critical. And when you get to a level where you're just hitting the ball in the center of the club face all the time, you really don't need that cavity backs and all that at that point.
Right.
You want to have a blade iron that you can really work that club through impact and shape your shots and that sort of thing. So it's almost like training wheels. You could say what's easier on a 3-wheel bike or so, a tricycle. It's like you're sitting. There's a lot of things you don't have to worry about. Tipping over and all that, right?
Yeah.
You're never gonna be able to do what a 2-wheel bike could do out on a dirt track or something, right? You just go down there, so that's kind of the argument. I've been accused of being critical of the modern game. I understand that, but I also understand that I came from an era where I saw a lot of really great ball striking.
Yeah.
And in my contemporaries, I saw some really fantastic stuff. It wasn't that uncommon for me to watch a guy just go out and hit 18 greens and just stuff it at the flag all day.
Wow.
I was able to do that myself sometimes, but some of these guys were just really fantastic. And when I go out and I watch